Welcome to Devlog number 1 as you join me on the journey to one paid customer. So what am I building? Well, the goal is to take an existing spreadsheet that I use every month. It's very clunky, very slow, doesn't always work, and turn it into its own web application, right? As you can see here, this is the initial Figma designs. The main pages on this is going to be the balance page, right? Keeping track of your balances of your accounts over time. And then the budgets page where you can create monthly budgets. So those are two main features we're going to be focused on. And then there's opportunities to expand into tracking retirement savings or building achievements and dashboards. But we're going to be working on just balance and budgets, the minimal viable product, before we then put this into production. So I've been working on the project for a couple of weeks now, and where have we got to? Well, we've got single sign-on working with Google Authentication, using Supabase as an authentication provider and database provider. We've got a database connection set up. We've got our basic domain models and the basic functionality of the balance tracking part of the application. As you can see, when I'm about to run this isn't going to win any prizes for UI design or anything like that at the moment. Currently, it's using Mudblazor as the UI library, which is just allowing me to iterate really quickly on just getting the initial proof of concept working. So if we look at the current application here, you can see we've got a nav bar working. We've got our balance, budget, and home navigation set up. And here we can see we can log in with Google, and this will prompt us to Google Authenticate. As you can see, we can log in with Google, and this will allow us to select the Google account we need to sign in with. As soon as we're authenticated, it will take us to this temporary page. We can go to the balance page, and this will load the full balance. So here we can now see the balance page, right? We've got a grouping of different accounts working. We've got the dynamic updating of balances. And as soon as I click enter or click off this, you can see the total at the bottom has changed, but this is also saved to the Supabase database. I can click on any accounts to show the sidebar for that account, changing its name as possible, putting it into different account groups as possible. Once again, no major UI things like autocomplete or anything have been created yet, just basic functionality. I can add a new date if I want to add November. I can select November, and November has now been added. I can add a new account and then also show the overall graph of the balances over time. So now let's dive into some of the code, starting with Supabase Auth. I'm not going to show you fully how it's all working. If you want a whole tutorial or blog post on that, just let me know. But here we can see the Supabase Auth provider inheriting from an authentication state provider, which allows us to provide authentication in Blazor. And the way we're actually getting our claims and building our user principal is by first getting the current session from Supabase and then fetching different information from that session and put it into claims so we can access it on the user principal object. The sign into Google button on our homepage simply just calls supabase.auth.signin, right? And this is using the supabase.net SDK, which is available on GitHub. Okay, now that we've got the Supabase auth set up and wired in correctly, we can now limit views based upon that. So what we can do in our routes.razor is set up the authorized route view, which allows us to require authorization. And then the imports.razor, we can add the authorized attribute, which will mean that every single page by default requires authentication unless we set it as allow anonymous. So going back to the application, what's next? Well, the main thing I want to work on next is getting the graphs and the charts working, right? This is going to be the main thing that kind of sets it apart from the spreadsheet, is that it's going to automatically wire up all the charts and make them easily viewable and things like that, right? Rather than having to faff around in Google Sheets or Excel or something like that. Now, the main limitation I'm finding is I'm currently using Mudblazor, right, for this application. So by default, I looked at Mudblazor charts. Now, this is one of the charts that they offer, just their line chart in Mudblazor. I've already had a lot of issues with this, right? The labels here on the left kept getting cut off, so I've had to add padding, but as the numbers increase, they get cut off again with overflows and stuff. I've got temporary workarounds, but it isn't quite how I want it to work. There's currently no, as you can see, if I highlight over this data, there's nothing showing up to show the values for this data. And the amount of graphs and what you can do with them is, I don't want to say too limited. It's very minimalist, I should say. So I don't think Mudblazor charts is going to hit what I need for this application where there's going to be lots of data, lots of charts, those kind of things. So the next thing I'm going to look at is what charting library to use. So I've been looking at alternatives. Of course, I want something that's free, open source, right? I don't want to be buying a license just for charting. What I've come across is Blazor ApexCharts, right? Just a wrapper for ApexCharts.js, right? So it's not Blazor native or anything like that, which Mudblazor is, which is great. But this does have a lot more functionality, right? It allows us to access the whole of ApexCharts. And here you can see from their site, they offer a lot more variety in the different types of charts you can do, and a lot more customizations for the specific chart. So if we just take a line chart, for example, and take a look at one of their examples here, you can see hovering over the data shows you a tooltip, a pop-up with the actual values that you're hovering over, right, which is the main thing that I couldn't get from Mudblazor. So hopefully this is what I'll be doing next, implementing ApexCharts for Blazor. And what we want to build in is charts when we show charts for all accounts. We want to see the balance over time. When we click on a specific account, we want to see a chart just for that account. And if I click for a specific date as well, it'd be great to see a split of that date based upon groups, based upon individual accounts as well. So we're going to have some pie charts and line charts here. And I want to get all of those implemented. Hopefully that's the next goal to go for. So this first episode is just an introduction to the journey I'll be taking, trying to get my first paid customer for an online product, online application that I build and publish, right? This isn't going to be one of those videos of building a SaaS in 24 hours or something like that. I have a full-time job. This is just going to be part-time, right? Evenings and weekends, and we're going to see if it is possible to build an application with a paid customer using Blazor. So if that interests you, if you want to follow along on this journey, then like, subscribe so you can see how it goes over the coming weeks and months. And if you've got any ideas for the application, ways to improve, questions like that, please put them in the comments below.